Hello everyone and welcome back to another rendition of I don't even raid, I just like to watch Datto videos. Today we're talking about the Verity challenge in Salvation's Edge. I am making a dedicated video for this as opposed to wait until next week where I'm going to have a video for all of the challenges because Verity is a pretty confusing encounter to a lot of people, and I think some sort of live presentation, live example of how this challenge works should be somewhat helpful in figuring out how to actually do this, because it involves solving the encounter in a way that nobody knew that you could actually use in order to solve the encounter and get through the encounter. And the reason nobody knew is because it takes longer and there's extra steps both in the Shadow Realm and the Dissection Realm, and there's more chances to mess it up, and also like nobody ever tried it. So that's why nobody really knew. So what do you have to do for this challenge? In order to complete this challenge, you need to use all 6 of the 3-dimensional shapes that are available to you before you can use the same shapes again. And you also can't make any repeats. So there's a pretty specific order that you need to do this in. So normally, what do we got? This is how you would normally do the encounter, right? The circle person gets the prism, the triangle person gets the cylinder, and then the square person gets the cone. And you do that for all 3 steps, and then you're out of there in hopefully about 10 minutes, right? But now, for the second one, we can't use a cylinder or a cone or a prism. We need to use the cube, the sphere, and the pyramid. Now, normally, you can't use these things, but apparently you can. There has been a way to use them this whole time. It's just that nobody knew because you never needed to do this. So we need to take out this second phase, and we need to replace it with the cube, the sphere, and the pyramid. And in order to get to this phase is not actually that much more complicated. It's just like an extra dissection or 2. It's an extra Shadow Realm switcheroo. It's not actually that complicated, but I do want to give an example so you can kind of follow along. And I'll have a video example as well that we'll do after I do this demonstration right here. So let's say this was your first phase, CTS. I think that's also, oh no, CST is our other example. So let's say you do this and okay, boom, that's done. That's your first phase. Now we're getting to phase 2. And this is the one that's in our video example that I will use to cover. So normally you would do something like this, right? You would, okay, CST, so that means you need TS over here, TC here, and CS over here, and then you grab your shapes and you get the heck out, right? Now we need to do this. Now you're seeing 2 options here, right? We could do TT, CC, SS, or SS, TT, CC. By the way, SS is square, square, CC is not cube, it's circle, circle, and TT is triangle, triangle. My team just found it easier to phrase it like this as opposed to like pyramid and cube and sphere, because people were getting confused with like the C and the S, because sphere S is different to square S and C cube is different to C circle. So it was just getting confusing. So we preferred to just be like, pick up 2 of these shapes. That's how we like to do it. So we have 2 options here because both of them work, right? The same rules still apply. You can't pick up a shape that is contained in your statue. So if I'm the circle guy, I still can't pick up any circles. But 2 triangles, those are not circles, and 2 squares, those are not circles either. So it doesn't matter which one of these you pick when you start doing your calls. You just need to pick one. Just make a call. Who's ever doing dissection, be like, I'm going to make these shapes. So that's what the Shadow Realm people need to do. In fact, we have our video example right here. So you can see down here, CST was our call, and Toes decided, okay, I'm making SSTTCC for our calls for this particular run, which we have down here. So that's what we're going to do in our example. We're just going to get rid of these. And this is the call that we decided to make. Again, nothing wrong with using these. You just need to make a call, pick one. Doesn't matter which one. Now, you still also need to do the fight as normally because you still need to do something in the fight called removing shadows. And that's why you're not really able to take any shortcuts. And if you need to know why you need to do that, it's just you need to do it. Like, don't even... Just do the fight normally. Don't try and take any shortcuts. Just do the fight as it's normally done, except we're going to slot in 1 extra step. And that's all we got to do. So, what normally happens here? Phase 1, you're doubling up. So let's go to our footage here, and we'll see that I'm pretty sure I'm the circle guy. Yeah. So we have 2 circles flashing in the back here. That means we're good to go. I'm gonna wait for my square teammate and my triangle teammate to get all caught up, do the doubling up process. I don't actually need to give away anything, but this is what you normally do. You make sure you're giving away the shapes that you need to give away, and you have the shapes that you need to have in order to continue to phase 2, which is where you give them away. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna get rid of this. So now we're at phase 1. The shapes should look something like that, right? And then phase 2, that's when we give them away. So I'm giving away my 2 circles, and then you're giving away the squares, and you're giving away the triangles. So everyone should eventually end up with something like this. That's where you're gonna end up after phase 2, where you give them away. And then normally, phase 3, pick them up, collect and escape. And that's what you would do. And then you'd move to the everybody's dying phase, and you have to put the ghosts in the thing, and then you go to another cycle of it. But we need to get to this, right? And we need to get to this from this. Now you'll notice that everyone already has one shape of what they actually need, because we need to use the cube, the sphere, and the pyramid. So in this case, instead of collect and escape, we are going to be adding in a new phase called double up again, where you need to essentially give your shape away, except the shape that you're giving away has shifted based on what your end result actually is. So in this case, I have ST, so I need to give a triangle to the person who's collecting the triangles. In this case, it's the person at the middle statue with the square. So I'm taking my triangle and I'm giving them the triangle. And then they have a circle, and then the person over here needs a circle, so they're giving them the circle. And then this person has the square, and then they're giving me the square. And now we have our respective shapes, and now we would collect and we would escape. And now we have escaped with our cube over here, our pyramid here, and our sphere right here. That's all you got to do. It's just one extra step. Now the person dissecting also needs to create this format in the not shadow realm, in the normie realm, so that we are able to actually escape. That's what you're gonna be doing for the dissections. The dissections as a result are gonna get a little more complicated. You might have to do an extra step in there. You have to think a little bit differently, but the process is still the same. You still wanna trade the shapes around. You still eventually wanna come up with whatever you talked about at the very beginning when you did those call outs. So you're doing SSTTCC in this particular example. Okay, so we're currently in our first phase. We have the circles, and I'm actually gonna play this at a slightly faster speed here. So I'm waiting for my teammates to trade their shapes, and so I can start sending my shapes out. We like to make sure that everyone has their shapes, everyone's on the right track, nobody's bugged or anything like that. So I'm just waiting for my teammates to do their thing. They have done their thing. I am now grabbing my circles, and I'm dispersing them to my teammates so that way they can have their shapes that they want to be making. Witness notices our efforts. We're going to skip forward here because this part does not really change at all. So I've given away my 2 circles. I am waiting for my next shape to show up. I currently have a square. I'm waiting for a triangle, and there's our triangle. So now we have hit phase 3. Now we're doubling up again, not collecting and escaping. So in this case, I know that I need to give away my triangle. Kill our ogre. By the way, on Master, the ogres are unstoppable, in case you didn't know that. So make sure you bring some unstop. So square's already on the ground, so there's pretty high odds that this is going to be a triangle. I grab my triangle, and I'm giving it to our middle statue, who needs the triangle. I'm waiting for someone to give me my square. My class item's also bugged. It's a funny rage moment coming up that I can share after this is over. My second square has come in. We have determined that I am the square guy. So I'm grabbing both of my squares. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit here. We got one square. We pick up our other square. We have a cube, and we're trying to get out. And I'll re-enable the audio after this because it was funny, although it was not funny at the time. And I get out with like 1 second remaining. You can do it a lot faster. We were having a time with it. And I'm out. Now, every other time, if you do this wrong, you will only see challenge failed when the final person escapes on the second cycle that you're doing. You're not going to see it any earlier than that, and I'll talk about kind of why that happens in a little bit, but that is essentially the challenge. This was our second phase. The first phase we do normal, right? We're just doing it. doing it normally. And then the final phase, we're also just doing it normally. There are no changes to the first phase and the third phase. Now, could you do phase 1 and 3? I forget if I said this already. Can you do phase 1 and 3 doing it the hard way? You absolutely can. I don't know why you would make yourself suffer like that, but you absolutely can. So hopefully that was a good enough explanation on how this encounter works with the challenge included. Again, it is just one extra step that you need to include. Sorry, I'll clarify this language here. This is Shadow Realm phases. Okay, double up, give them away, double up again, collect and escape. Normally, you don't have this. In this case, you do. Let's do our funny outtake here. I was getting very, very annoyed with this this visual glitch. And on my way out, this visual glitch happens here. There's a pillar right here. There's a pillar right here that I don't see because this is happening. I'm trying to leave. I can't goddamn see anything. I'm out. I was not a happy camper right there. So that's how the challenge works. Now, if you just want to know how the challenge works, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. You can kind of cut out here. I just wanted to give like some fun insight into what was going on when we were trying to solve this. So a big part of why we were struggling to figure this out is because of when Bungie chose to tell you that you hit challenge failed. Now, as I said earlier, we were only hitting challenge failed on the final person leaving in the second phase. So that signals to us that we needed to do something with the first cycle of things that was happening, and that was going to influence what we needed to do in the second set. So here, these check marks are happening because you literally have no choice, but like these 3 things are going to be correct pretty much all the time. Now, if you go into the second phase and only like one of them is wrong, which like in this particular case would not be possible, the game checks for this set and this set at the same time to be like, okay, did you hit all of our things that we wanted you to hit? We noticed you did not, and therefore we are going to fail you right there, as opposed to failing you at like here or here or here or here or here. They only fail you right there. So that made it kind of confusing to figure out what the thing actually was, but it actually did end up ruling a lot of things out, because if you didn't fail at certain points, that meant that challenge was not the actual challenge, right? And there are a few examples that we tried out, like, you know, certain people interacting with certain statues or certain shapes, but if you ever messed up, it would have failed you, you know, after this, after this, after this, after this, whenever it was going to fail you. That was part of the struggle of like trying to figure out what the challenge actually was, on top of the fact that the challenge ended up being something that we had never done before. So, you know, our team didn't end up actually figuring it out. I had some people come into my chat and eventually be like, someone solved it, you have to do this and this. But we must have tried every other type of idea that we could possibly try before even considering something like that, because that just went against everything that we knew about this particular encounter, right? No one thought that you could ever do, you know, something like this, right? No one thought you would ever use the cube. Usually that's bad, right? Seeing a cube is awful because that's usually more work, but you can still escape with the particular shapes as long as the outside and the inside both line up. So who would have thought, right? That's your challenge guide. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was some level of insightful. Again, I will have a challenge guide, perhaps even in this style. Let me know what you thought of this particular way of doing a raid challenge guide, as opposed to me stripping something out. I wanted to try something live, but let me know what you thought. Let me know if that helps. If you have any other questions, post them in the comments. I'm sure people will be willing to help. But again, just do it the way that I've taught you, that I assume you have been learning. First phase normal, third phase normal. Just do these steps in that order and you're going to be fine. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.